Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning to our witnesses. It's good to have you here. Secretary Spencer and Secretary Wilson, I first wanted to address the ongoing physiological episodes occurring in the FA-18 community and increasingly in other aircraft throughout the Navy and the Air Force. There have been two recent incidents that underscore the urgency and persistent nature of this issue. In January, an EA-18 Growler aircraft experienced a failure in the environmental control system, causing temperatures in the cockpit to plunge to negative 30 degrees, resulting in a layer of ice covering the instrumentation and windows, rendering the pilots almost completely blind, according to the report. Both pilots survived, but suffered serious frostbite injuries. Most recently, two Navy FA-18 pilots died after ejecting from their aircraft near Naval Air Station Key West just last week. Now, while the cause of this latest incident has yet to be determined, I'm gravely concerned not only about our efforts to correct this ongoing problem, but also about the impact it may be having on the recruitment, retention, and confidence level of the pilots we asked to fly this aircraft. It is vitally important that we get to the root of this ongoing problem as soon as possible, and in particular, Secretary Spencer, I encourage the Navy to maintain the constancy of effort and expertise to help get at the bottom of this and help solve it. It's just a statement. It's something we've been monitoring in the Tactical Air and Land Subcommittee. I hear from families quite often about it. And in a recent meeting with the Chief of Naval Operations, there was a young pilot in the room who herself had had 3 physiological episodes while flying for the Navy. So something we have to stay on top of, and just wanted to make that statement. Switching topic, Secretary Esper, I commend you and Army leadership for establishing a Futures and Modernization Command within the next year. Too often, too many years and too many taxpayer dollars have been misused in developing capabilities that the military services ultimately determine are no longer relevant in the face of rapid technological change and a changing threat environment, oftentimes just as you're about to make a very important investment and move forward. This problem impacts all the services, but 2 recent examples are top of mind, the Army's Network Modernization Strategy and the Air Force's follow-on JSTARS program. The services may well learn from programs that are canceled or head in a new direction, but the amount of time, the amount of money, and in particular, the amount of talent we waste in learning those hard lessons is of great concern, particularly when the reasons behind these course corrections were foreseeable had our nation's greatest innovators had a seat at the table. So with that said, Secretary Esper, how do you aim to get at this problem through the proposed Futures and Modernization Command? How will the command work through anticipating what capabilities we will need in the future? The threats are not always as unknown as sometimes suggested, and equally important, what capabilities our adversaries will have in a way that is better than our process. As you said today, the focus is to save money, but to make sure we're more effective, more lethal. You have a more effective, more lethal Army. How do you see the Futures Command and Modernization Command achieving that goal?
Congresswoman, the Army Futures Command will likely do 2 things. One, will have the talent inherent from both military and civilian to look deep into the future about what the strategic threats and the operational environment may look like. That, in turn, will help inform the material solutions that we may need in that future state.
And how will that change compared to what you do now? What will be different about that?
Well, what we find now is that capability, the need to look into the future often gets lost because of the demands of the present. And by putting that responsibility in a separate command and just focused on the future, the sense is that we'll have greater focus on the future and not get lost by the present. There will be another organization responsible for maintaining focus on the near fight. The other part of what Futures Command will do, of course, is to consolidate the entire acquisition process, achieving unity of effort and unity of command, which is essential to holding people accountable and to making the system as efficient and as effective as possible. And in that way, we can line up everything under a single commander, whether it's from the concept to the requirements process, to the material development plan, all the way through engineering, manufacturing development sustainment testing, et cetera. We'll bring all those people together up front. And more specifically to the point you raised, and we're doing this now in the cross-functional teams, is we bring everybody to the table early, to include the private sector and academia where need be, to get those best ideas that are happening out there.
I think it requires a deep dive, and to do that, you've got to have people whose job in life has been focused on looking ahead, and not just solving a near-term problem, as has been too often the case. Thank you.
Mr. Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Spencer, this is more of a request.